Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. This is our only broadcast on Sunday. So we are here to get the conversation going in as far as things go. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. It's been one full of action. Um, and plenty to take in. From the appointment of Xabi Alonso at Chelsea to Mo Salah's statement to another Liverpool loss. Of course, that was on Friday. Manchester United winning and sealing that third place finish on the Premier League log. As we speak, there is a game ongoing between, I think, Barcelona are in action as we speak in the Spanish La Liga. That was the only late kickoff. That game is 1-1 against Real Betis. I think it kicked off at about 10:15 p.m. East African time. So we'll keep tabs on that game as we go through this broadcast. But more importantly, we'll be talking about some of the significance of the results that have come through the weekend. Of course, in the French League One, Monaco are 4-2 up against Strasbourg. PSG are 1-0 up against Paris FC. Remember, today is the final day of those of the French League One. It does climax today. PSG are already champions, so there's not much in there for us to follow up on when majority of it is done and dusted. Anyways, so you'll allow me have our headlines or talking points fixed because I can see a couple of characters in excess. Alonso's message. Okay, we'll keep it at that. Anyways, I hope you've had a wonderful day nonetheless. It's always a pleasure to be back with you. For those of you that keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel. And on that very note, I wish to say thank you so much to all our usual suspects, the semi-regular suspects, and the guys that keep us company every now and then. Those that are random, who come once in a while. Your love and support doesn't go unnoticed. So please keep the conversation going. Keep the conversation going. I need to, to make sure. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is my name. I come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's 26 minutes past the hour of 11 p.m. We are back tonight to talk yet again football. We'll get to talk about Manchester United's victory. They came in the early kickoff on Super Sunday. We'll get to talk about Xabi Alonso's appointment and his message to the Chelsea fans. We'll also get to digest Mo Salah's statement to Liverpool. Remember, he is set to play his final game with Liverpool. That will be on May the 24th. That's when he will be playing his final game in Liverpool colours. You'll allow me to have our audios tested and make sure everything checks out before we proceed any further. I can see we have Jean Charles. Jean Charles says petite Akon. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that is French or some other foreign language that I'm not accustomed to or familiar with, but I hope you're saying hi. Anyways, but also, I want to say thank you so much to all our new subscribers, those of you that have recently joined the community. Some people, as oftentimes is the case with these forums, some people come, some people go, but it is what it is. Allow me to send out my special thanks or shout outs to the following people, including but not limited to Summer Banks, Mildred Chelsea, Mitchell Wainscoats, Gladiator, Alex Alinaitre, Stephen Inbar, Mwami Isaac, and every single one of you that is, an advocate and an adherent fan of this channel, and those of you that support what I do on every single day. Anyways, so where do we get it started from? I think it would be an injustice if we do not start with Manchester United following that 3-2 victory against Nottingham Forest with goals from Luke Shaw. They do not come very often from Luke Shaw, so you ought to take it when it comes. But he did score to open the scoring for Manchester United. It was a very, very interesting game, by the way. I thought Manchester United were really, really brilliant On another given day, we'll be talking about Bruno Fernandes have already broken the all-time most assists record in a single Premier League campaign, but yeah, some people fell short of their responsibilities when it came to putting the ball in the back of the net. But also, in the same respect, I wish to give Martials his flowers because he did tremendously well. He put on quite a couple of saves, including a last-minute save from Joshua Zirkzee. His first attempt was blocked out by a defender, and he had the rebound while Martials was still on the floor, but he managed to put his right hand to it. Are you from the Caribbean? That's the brain and behavior. No, I'm from Africa, particularly Kampala, Uganda, a small landlocked country in the eastern part of Africa. So Man United had that, goal in the as early as the 50th minute through Luke Shaw that gave them the halftime lead. For the rest of the half, they were still dominating affairs in terms of chances created, but they were firing the blanks. And then early in the second half, that was in the 53rd minute, Morato did score to restore parity with Elliot Anderson providing the assist. He chipped in that ball and he only had to put a glance of his header to it. The quiet one, Quadruple One says hi the quiet one, good to have you on the broadcast. Let me know, guys, where you're joining us from. I'll be reading each and every one of your comments really in the comment section. And what teams do you support or pay allegiance to, or what sport disciplines do you love the most? Then in the 55th minute, this was only while Nottingham Forest they were not even allowed to enjoy the equalizer. Really, they were still basking in the glory of it. And then Matthias Cunha scored on the other end to make it 2-1. Now, the goal had to be checked and confirmed after a VAR review. Of course, it had been given initially, but it needed confirmation from VAR because Brian Mbeumo handled the ball in the build-up to the goal. Now, I disagree with the decision of allowing the goal. That's for starters. And the reason is simple. If a player of the opposite team handles the ball in the build-up to the goal is ruled out. I think that's the rule. Now, in this particular case, what the referee has taken judgment or to be judgment of, now, I say it is wrong in my opinion, not to the letter of the law, because obviously the referee knows the law, the rules and the laws of the game more than I do, but clearly, when the ball gets crossed in for Brian Mbeumo, it brushes off his thigh and onto his arm, and then he attempts to score, for which he doesn't, and then Matthias Cunha picks on the rebound and he scores. Now, in scoring, I would say no harm done. Of course, I cannot blame it on Cunha. But when you revisit the incident, it's very clear Brian Mbeumo handles the ball as he controls it. Now, because his first attempt is blocked out and the rebound goes to Matthias Cunha, what the referee, I want to believe, has judged in this particular case is that the first incident involving the handball with Brian Mbeumo has now gone after his attempt is blocked by a Nottingham Forest defender. Now, off that rebound is from which Matthias Cunha scores, and therefore he takes it as a separate incident. You remember, this is sort of similar to the decision we had for the allowed goal by Tony Barry against Manchester City in their 3-3 draw against Everton. Tony Barry was in an offside position when McKay receives the ball. And initially, the linesman has waved his flag to say there's an offside here. Now, when he waves the flag to say there's an offside here, because McKay is in control of the ball, it's more like an advantage that is played on. Unfortunately for McKay, he turns around, faces his goalkeeper, and attempts to pass the ball back to Gianluigi Donnarumma, and it is that pass that then is intercepted. So it is believed to be a second phase of play. And in this particular case, I want to associate myself with the belief that it is that same sort of school of thought or analogy that has been transposed onto here, that really Brian Mbeumo has handled the ball in the area. Therefore, the goal, in other words, what the referee is telling us, had it been Brian Mbeumo who had scored the goal, then the goal shouldn't have stood. But because it's Matthias Cunha, then the goal has to stand because the initial attempt by Brian Mbeumo is blocked out by is blocked out by a Nottingham Forest defender. So I do not know. Now, because the ball has not gone out of because the ball has not gone out of play, that it's a or it's been recycled for let's say, okay, not necessarily even going out of play, or it has been recycled through a couple of passes and otherwise. I would understand that bit. But this is within the same phase of play inside the area, inside the box. So Belmo handles the ball, makes a turn, attempts to score, attempt is blocked out. Now, if you're telling me Belmo has already committed a foul in that particular incident, then because the referee has not been able to see it in real time, therefore, it's not a clear and obvious error by the referee in this particular case. You'd want to assume. Or you cannot fault the referee for not seeing it blatantly for what it was. And then that attempt is blocked out and it goes to Cunha, who then scores. Thus, I think I'd want to believe in the VAR room. The reason as why they were calling him to the pitch side monitor is to make him aware of what he's not seeing, which is a clear and obvious error because it's a handball in the build-up to the goal. And when he goes to the monitor, the one positive I take out of this moment, even though I do not agree with the decision, is that when the referee goes to the pitch side monitor, he sticks by the on-field decision to say it's a goal. You get the point? Because a lot of times it feels that when referees are summoned to the pitch side monitor, it's like a bona fide unwritten rule that once you get sent to the pitch side monitor, you ought to change your decision or your on-field decision. I do not agree with that sort of practice. And I can't say it's the way of looking at things, but oftentimes it does appear it is the practice. So I do not agree with it. So that's the only positive I can pick out of that moment. But I, for one, in my literal understanding of the game and what the rules appears to suggest, or at least the spirit of the rule, is that that goal should not have stood. Therefore, Nottingham Forest will feel hard done by that the goal stood. And you could see Vitor Pereira did not take that one too well. He was protesting. He was saying there's a handball in the build-up to this goal, therefore it should not stand. But obviously, somehow, somewhere, the referee did not see eye to eye with him or with the rest of us who thought the goal shouldn't have stood. So Matthias Cunha was the other player on target for Manchester United. And then that was in the 55th minute. Then in the 76th minute, Brian Mbeumo eventually scored with Bruno Fernandes providing the assist. Now, they celebrated the assist more than the goal because throughout the entire course of the game, it all felt that every player, every forward player was playing for Bruno Fernandes to equal that record and perhaps beat it for 20 Premier League assists in a season. The other holders of the same record are Thierry Henry, I think was it 2003, 2004 record? I stand to be corrected for the year. But then Kevin De Bruyne also did it. I remember in the 2015-2016 season, Mesut Ozil attempted to, echo that record. But that was for Thierry Henry, it was 2002-2003. That season when Manchester United, sort of beat them to the Premier League title. And it's one of those seasons in memory for a lot of Arsenal fans that who have watched their team for quite some time or a reasonable period of time that do not always want to remember. Why? Because they were so close. They were really, really close to winning the Premier League title. But they fell short to Manchester United. That regardless of Thierry Henry's heroics, they could not win it. Remember, they lost the league title by a tally of 5 points. But of course, that's not the slimmest of margins that they lost the league title with. But Thierry Henry had such an incredible season. And so the margins were really, really small in that sort of time and respect. And Arsenal had scored more goals than United. They had scored as many as 85 goals. That was 9 more goals than, actually 11 goals than Man United had managed to score and things like that. So he does join that list of, he now becomes the third player to manage 20 Premier League assists in a Premier League season. Now, of course, he has the opportunity to go and beat that record on the final day of the season when they play away to Brighton and Hove Albion. That will be at the Amex Stadium. So it's he still has a chance to beat the record. He still has a chance to beat the record. Now, a lot of people, or some people, have come to try and demystify or water down what Bruno Fernandes has achieved in providing 20 assists thus far this season by saying he's provided 12 of them through set pieces. That's free kicks, corner kicks, that kind of thing. For me, it doesn't matter. An assist is an assist. It doesn't matter whether it's your header that you use, your shoulder, your butt, your back. It doesn't matter. Whether it's a corner kick, whether it's a free kick, it doesn't matter. And the reason as to why it doesn't matter is because it's all part of the game. It's not like set pieces are isolated, like an imported aspect of the game that is not routinely part of it. In any case, I'd want to believe a set piece assist is often difficult or more difficult than in open play, because in open play, you receive the ball, you're in the control of it, maybe you're making a run and you have space to maybe pass the ball between the lines to provide that assist. Whereas, meanwhile, Barcelona have scored to make it 2-0 against Real Betis. Looks like Real Betis' earlier goal was ruled out. Okay, so it's 2-0 in favor of Barcelona. Rafinha with the goal. Now, when it comes to set pieces, you must be spot on with the delivery, because, in other words, you must try and find your intended target in the sense of the ball is at a pause. It has no momentum to it. It has no flow to it. It's just in a pause. Now, but also in a set piece play, you have the opponent's team well structured, looking to defend that same ball. In other words, ordinarily, you have at least, out of the 22 players on the pitch, at least you have about approximately anywhere between 12 to 16 players, all waiting for that one ball. Both your teammates and the opponent's, team that are looking to defend against that ball. So that's what makes set piece assists even more difficult compared to open play. But like I said, it does join those realms in terms of assists in a season. If you can get one more, or even just more than one, you'll beat that record of 20 Premier League assists that was initially set by Thierry Henry and then equaled by Kevin De Bruyne in the 2019-2020 Premier League season. That season when Liverpool won the Premier League title. And then, so other than that, I've told you about Mesut Ozil, had 19 assists for the 2015-2016 season. Then you had Mo Salah last season with 18 assists. That's 2024-2025 season. Then you go back to James Lampard in the 2004-2005 season when he scored 13 goals as well. He provided 18 assists. And then you had Kevin De Bruyne with 18. That's in the 2016-2017 Premier League season. That's the season in which Manchester City, in Pep Guardiola's debut campaign, did not win any piece of silverware. But he still had that many number of assists. So then Cesc Fabregas also had 18. That's for the 2014-2015 season when Chelsea won the Premier League title. The third under Jose Mario Felix Mourinho during his second, return to the team. And then Cesc Fabregas also had 17 assists in a single Premier League season. That was in 2007-2008. For those of you that remember, in that season, Arsenal were pushing to win the Premier League title, but fell short. They did fall short. I remember, I don't remember specifically which player got injured, but they tried to push for it in the 2006-2007 season, I think. Then the subsequent season, which was 7-8, but they finished third. I remember there's a couple of players that they lost to injury. Is that the season when they lose Eduardo and Thomas Rosicky? I think around that period. So, and then they are sort of Premier League title chase collapses, and they ended up finishing third with 83 points. Manchester United, who won it with 87 points, only 2 points ahead of Chelsea and 4 ahead of Arsenal. So they sort of had a bad stumble towards the tail end of the season. But I remember them, I think, leading that table for a bit of time, or at some point during the course of that season. So, in a way, again, it's one of those seasons that you remind of Arsenal fans, and I mean, so many times we've come close and not won it. And then the recent memories of 2023 and then 2024. So that's why their fans are really, really desperate for their team to win it this season, which will be the first time for them to win the Premier League title in 22 years. So it's very, very difficult. Now, also, you have to go back to, of course, then Kevin De Bruyne on 2 other occasions also managed 16 assists. That's 2017, 2018. You remember that Manchester City side that won the Premier League title with 100 points. Then also in the 2022-2023 season, when they beat Arsenal to the Premier League title by a tally of about 5 points, 89 points compared to 84 of Arsenal. Then you go back to Eric Cantona in 1992-93 when he provided 16 assists. So that's the tally sheet in as far as the incredible seasons of Premier League assists go for in this sort of era. You guys play too much. So, anyways, there's that. Meanwhile, there's a review in the Real Betis Barcelona game. I think there's an appeal for a penalty. The foul, I think, was on Isiko Alcaran. So, there's that. Now, the referee has gone to the pitch side monitor. He's been invited to the pitch side monitor. I think it's simple. It's a penalty. Just give it. He sort of bumps into him right on his heels. There. I need to have a good look of this. Because he's coming in from behind him, I think it's going to be given as a penalty. Because he's coming in from behind him. Penalty. Penalty to Real Betis. Penalty to Real Betis. Penalty to Real Betis. I'm here hoping, I don't know if I'm hoping that it gets scored, but Ash and Pedri are Barcelona fans. I wish they were part of us tonight. Anyways, so basically, it was for Man United, it was a game of many missed opportunities. Brani Mbeumo could have, in the first half, he hit the best of the upright. He could have easily scored a hat-trick. Meanwhile, Isiko has converted, so it's 2-1 between Barcelona and Real Betis. This is match day 37 of the Spanish La Liga. So next weekend, they will equally be wrapping it up. Remember, after that, players will be off to World Cup preparations, apart from PSG and Arsenal players who will still have a final to play on May the 30th in the UEFA Champions League final, but also the Crystal Palace and Rayo Vallecano players who have a final to play on May the 27th in the UEFA Conference League. So there's that as well. Moving on. Or to wrap up the Manchester United game. Like I said, so many missed opportunities. Patrick Dogu missed an opportunity, but that was due to an excellent save by Marcels. Brani Mbeumo missed 2 chances. Basically, by now, Bruno Fernandes would have already beaten that record of most assists in the Premier League season, and it's because of that record that a lot of people think he should be given the Premier League Player of the season. Now we are waiting to see what whether he will win it. Whether he will win it, but he's most definitely among the nominees for it. Morgan Gibbs White is one of those. Bruno Fernandes, Declan Rice. I think David Raya is one of those. Then who else? I think Gabriel Magalhaes, maybe. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. So we wait to see. We wait to see who will win it. For those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. But yeah, that victory meant that Manchester United will finish third because it put them to 68 points with a game to spare. Neither Liverpool nor Aston Villa can leapfrog him out of that, fifth place. And therefore we have to wait, we have to wait. And unfortunately, Manchester United also cannot finish above Manchester City, who are currently in second place with 2 points behind Arsenal, who lead the pile with 79 points. Meanwhile, Arsenal play tomorrow. That's Monday at home against Burnley. A very, very important game. It's going to be a game of nerves. It's going to be, but we'll get to preview it in the morning broadcast. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Anyways, let's have a look at the other results from the Premier League. Now, in the other results from the Premier League, Brentford and Crystal Palace settled for a 2-2 draw with Dango Ouattara scoring a brace for Brentford, while Ismail Sarr scored a penalty and Adam Wharton was the other on target as the two sides shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw. Then Sunderland managed to come from a goal down to beat up against Everton by 3-1. Roll scored for Everton, while Brian Brobby, Leafy, and Isido were the goal scorers for Sunderland as they won by 3-1 away at the Hill Dixon Stadium. Then Leeds managed to upset Brighton as they beat them by 0-0. A late winner by Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the 96th minute or 6th minute of stoppage time. A goal that is his 14th in as far as the Premier League tally is concerned. So incredible result. Then Fulham and Wolves settled for a 1-1 draw. There with Mane in the 25th minute and Robinson scoring a penalty in the 3rd minute of stoppage time of the first half to make it 1-1. So it ended 1-1. Now, the late kickoff. I don't think I deserve to be disappointed or that I should be disappointed. I don't think I deserve to be, but I am disappointed. West Ham did not show up today. They never played like a team that is desperate to stay in the league. That's just shambolic. All night long, all day long. They're just poor. I mean, they conceded 2 early goals, which forced Nuno Espirito Santo to revise his starting 11, withdrawing Jean-Claire Todibo for, I think, was it Castellanos? I mean, yes, it's an away game. It's St. James's Park. It's not an easy place to go. Not everybody goes there and wins a game of football. But, I mean, first of all, he looked to play the same system he deployed against Arsenal, which is a back three of Mavropanos, Todibo, and Disasi. Aaron Wan-Bissaka as a wing back and Diouf with Matthias Fernandes and Thomas Tuchel, Somerville, Cam Wilson, and Bowen. It just did not work out. Newcastle were slicing through them, Like they were even not present. And in the 15th minute, Nick Voigtmada, I think, scored what? His 7th goal of the season, of the Premier League season. I stand to be corrected if he scored more, but to the best of my recollection, he had 6 before 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 he was relegated to being a number 10, playing in behind Anthony Gordon. In fact, it's his 8th goal. So he scored 8 goals and provided 3 assists in 32 league appearances. Now, for a striker who cost them that much, it's a poor return on investment. That's the honest bit. But because it's his debut campaign, I'll excuse the 24-year-old to say, yeah, if an 11-goal involvement is not too bad, is not worst case scenario, but he should have done better. But I also understand for many of these games, he had to play as a substitute. Not majority of them, but at least 9 of them, he came on as a substitute. Meaning he only started about how many? 23 games, for which some of those he was playing as a 10, behind Anthony Gordon. So I sort of cut him some slack. Hey, reluctant gamer, good to have you back on the broadcast. You say Newcastle won. Yeah, Newcastle won, and it's a doomsday for West Ham. I think Tottenham Hotspur fans must be still out in the bus celebrating that emphatic, victory for Newcastle. They must be giving Newcastle their flowers, because what that means is even if Tottenham were to lose on Tuesday against Chelsea, they would still be in pole position to survive relegation. That's what it simply means, And more importantly, Tottenham Hotspurs will go into that game knowing that I think they now need what? Needing just what? A point to confirm their survival, because they are 2 points ahead of West Ham. And a point will take them to 39 points, which means even if West Ham were to win their final game of the season, it would only land them to 39 points, but their goal deficit is too big, 22. And it's been one of the criticisms I've had against them this season. They concede just one too many goals. They've conceded the 3rd most number of goals after Burnley at 73 and 67 for Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've conceded 65. There is a 13 goals difference. I mean, it's just too big. It's too big. So, and even if West Ham were to pray that Tottenham loses against Chelsea, they still can't guarantee that they are going to go and beat up against Leeds United. The same Leeds that we've seen beat up against Brighton by 1-0, And that victory, by the way, put Leeds to 14th place with 47 points and dented Brighton's chances of European football. Of course, Bournemouth will be waiting to play, but they've not managed to leapfrog them out. 1 point is more than enough for Tottenham. Exactly. That's what they need. The question is, will they get it? Because even Tottenham themselves have been poor. Meanwhile, Barcelona are 3 up against Real Betis. They are 3 up against Real Betis. Tuesday, we will see versus Chelsea. Exactly, we'll see. But I thought Newcastle were really, really good in that game. West Ham did not show up. They did not show like they wanted to win this game. They went 3-0 down, and then after going 3-0 down, that is when Castellanos scored to pull one back for the visitors, and all it was a mere consolation. You say Arsenal game tomorrow will be good. I think if Arsenal get some early goals, actually, they will need more than a goal. If they get some early goals, it will be a good game for them. If they do not, it's going to be a long night for them. It's going to be nervous, and it could be panicky for them. It could be panicky for them. And like Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante put it, they will be praying and hoping that Arsenal drop points and see if they can complete the domestic treble. You know, I mean, if you want to know that anything is possible at this stage of the season, just go and see what happened to Hearts. Now, Hearts led the the Scottish League table for about what, 250 days. Celtic led it for 1 day and were crowned champions after winning 3-1 against Hearts. That Heart, the Hearts of Hearts. So, really, anything can happen. So, Arsenal fans will know that what happened to Celtic is still possible. And that's what I say about luck. You need a little bit of luck because you need a little bit of luck. And even after 60 years, Hearts' luck did not come good, did not deliver, did not pay off. You know? So basically, it's simply that. But West Ham, I said this, they deserve whatever is coming to them. Because I had expected them to give us a performance that we saw from them against Arsenal. I'd expected to see a performance from them that is worthy of a final-like kind of game. But you may think Newcastle wanted the game more than West Ham did. I mean, the result in itself put Newcastle in 11th place on 49 points. And this is what I've been saying about Chelsea. Chelsea are not serious. They could easily drop down the table. And I think that will be the motivation for Chelsea against Tottenham Hotspur after losing the FA Cup final yesterday. So it is about that. Okay, let's move on quickly. And moving on to Chelsea. Let's stick with Chelsea. Let's stick with Chelsea for a moment because Xabi Alonso was announced as the new head coach for Chelsea on a 4-year contract, and he will start his work on July the 1st. He will start his work on July 1st. That is July 1st, 2026. Obviously, the 4-year contract is, I wouldn't qualify it as a show of trust in him because we've seen managers / head coaches that have come through Chelsea's ranks and have gotten much longer contracts. Graham Potter had one of about apologies have gotten longer contracts of 6 years. Liam Rafinha had about 5.5 years on that contract that he received from Chelsea. But it never did what? It never worked out. So the long-term contract is not guaranteed to anything that it will work out. But I will take it as a positive in a way because it's longer than that of what is being offered to Michael Adrian Carrick, for whom it is suggested is being given a 2-year contract with an option to extend for a further year. So after his appointment, he said, Chelsea is one of the biggest clubs in the world, in world football, and it fills me with immense pride to become manager of this great club. Now, like I said, remember the title is manager and not head coach. Yes. From my conversations with the ownership group and sporting leadership, it is clear we share the same ambition. We want to build a team capable of competing consistently at the highest level and fighting for trophies. There is great talent in this squad and huge potential at this football club, and it will be my great honor to lead it. Now the focus is on hard work, building the right culture, and winning trophies. Those were some of the awards from Xabi Alonso after putting pen to paper on his 4-year deal with Chelsea as manager. So come July 1st, he will start his work. But unofficially, his work has already started. Ask me how. First of all, he's probably If he hasn't already done this, he's seated somewhere making the calls to the people that he thinks he can work with at Chelsea. By that I mean, who is going to be his first assistant or first head coach. He's like at least 4 people or more that he has to work in with, depending on what the terms and conditions of his contract sort of can accommodate him. Then I'm thinking he's already assessing the Chelsea squad. He's going to have to go back throughout the season and watch as many Chelsea games as possible in terms of replays. Why? He needs to prepare himself. He needs to assess those players. Whereas he's not had the opportunity to coach them and put them on the pitch, he will need to assess them to look at their strengths and weaknesses, because he's not going to be required to first accommodate all of them game time to decide which ones he wants to keep and which ones should move on. So in watching some of those games, he'll be looking at them and thinking, no, I don't think I'll be able to utilize this one. I do not think this one is good enough for me. I do not think this one does. I think this one needs polishing. I think I can improve this one in this aspect of the game, etc., etc. So we're going to be waiting quite eagerly to see what he sort of brings to the table in as far as Chelsea is concerned. Now, it's not going to be an easy job for him. Meanwhile, as Barcelona lead 3-1, they're showing us footage of Robert Lewandowski, who, according to Fabrizio Romano, will be leaving Barcelona at the end of the season. So, now, I do not, it's hard to envision, but it's going to be a difficult task for Xabi Alonso. Why? Because it's Chelsea, you need to strike a balance between building the aspects of the game that you want to build with winning. You have to find a way to win. You remember what he did with Real Madrid? He found a way to win games as he tried to build whatever he wanted to build. And that's why I was saying, I watched Real Madrid at the start of the season. They were winning games, but they were not convincing in their performances. And I always thought time would come and it would catch up with them. And sooner rather than later, there's a point when they had about a set of 3 draws in 4 games, and I think a loss. But that notwithstanding, I do not think Real Madrid will be as many points behind Barcelona as they currently are had he stayed. Robert Lewandowski is already bidding some players goodbye. What are you drinking? I'm drinking fresh fruit juice. Fresh fruit juice. Hi, Steve Bano. Good, always a pleasure to see you around. So that's about it. Now, let's move on to the other elephant in the room. And by that elephant, I mean Mohamed Salah. That was by Mohamed Salah. Now, yesterday, when I say yesterday, I mean Saturday, because whereas it's 6 minutes past 12 a.m., which is essentially Monday, 18th of May, 2026, I know for an absolute fact, you're saying you're drinking watermelon juice. Good for you. On Saturday, 16th, after Liverpool lost their game, this was after Liverpool lost, because Liverpool played on Friday against Aston Villa, and they lost by 4 goals to 2. Oli Watkins scoring in that one, as well as John McGinn, and I think the other was Morgan Rogers. While Virgil van Dijk scored what turned out to be consolations for Liverpool to send his individual tally to 6 goals. That's for this campaign. Now, Mohamed Salah put out a statement. He's not the guy that comes out every now and then and talks. He doesn't do many interviews. In any case, he's received criticism from Yemi Karaga that the only time he comes out to speak when it's about him and not about the team, when he scored a hat-trick, when he's getting a Man of the Match award, and etc., etc. You say, I played rugby in college. Oh, wow, okay. How do you find the sport in itself, rugby? So, and why didn't you go pro? What's that thing that stopped you from going pro, Steve? So, In the aftermath of that result, he went on his social media, and this is as per X, and he said, I have witnessed this club go from doubters to believers and from believers to champions. It took hard work, and I always did everything I could to help the club get there. Nothing makes me prouder than that. He goes on to add that us scrambling to yet another defeat this season was very painful and not what our fans deserve. I want to see Liverpool go back to being the heavy metal attacking team that opponents fear and back to being a team that wins trophies. That is the football I know how to play, and that is the identity that needs to be rediscovered. Sorry, that needs to be recovered and kept for good. It cannot be negotiable, and everyone that joins this club should adapt to it. Winning some games here and there is not what Liverpool should be about. All teams win games. You know? Then he adds on to say, Liverpool will always be a club that means a great deal to me and my family. I want to see it succeed for long after I have moved on. As I've already said, qualifying to next season's Champions League is the bare minimum, and I'll do everything I can to make that happen. Now, there's about two or three takeaways for me from Mo Salah in this particular statement. You say, I got a full scholarship to college and I was more interested in the studies than the sports. Okay, well, the ends justify the means, I guess. Now, first of all, the statement in its whole is an indictment to Arne Slot. I think it puts his whole future in question. So, and how? He talks about, I want to see Liverpool go back to being the heavy metal attacking team that opponents fear and back to being a team that wins trophies. First of all, in saying that, he's acknowledging what we've been saying all season, that Liverpool off the ball are really, really poor. They've dropped off. They no longer have the energy to do the counter press and everything that you expect of them. That heavy metal kind of game, rock and roll, he's gone. It's gone. And that's now on the manager. Yeah, that's on the manager. Because had it not been the case, he ought to have kept those standards. He ought to have kept those standards. And then he goes on to say that is the football I know how to play, and that is the identity that needs to be recovered and kept. So the key part here for me is that is the identity that needs to be recovered and kept for good. In other words, it was a winning formula. Why change a winning formula? It got them 2 league titles. It got them a Champions League title. It got them an FA Cup. It got them 2, I think, Carabao Cups. You know? So, and that's why he thinks it needs to be kept, because it gives you that. Meanwhile, it's game over. Barcelona win 3-1 against Real Betis. Steve says, I got a full academic scholarship. Sports were for fun and taking my aggression out. Okay? I still live a healthy lifestyle today, which will help me in my old age. Good luck to you, Steve. So Robert Lewandowski is bidding goodbye to the Barcelona fans and the Camp Nou. So Rafinha is the man of the match. So everything he says here is very important. And for people like Yemi Karaga that have always jumped on the bandwagon or the ship of trying to, attack Mo Salah and criticize him and name call him, whatever. As I read through this statement, I felt it came from an honest place, a place that cares, a place that says, this is beyond me, that this club has to keep winning beyond me. It's not about me, it's about the direction that the club is taking. And it does not think that it's taking the right direction under Arne Slot. I apologize, I never asked you where you're from, brother. I'm from Kampala, Uganda. small landlocked country called Uganda. That's where I'm from. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in case you haven't, feel free to Google the Pearl of Africa, and you will get to know. Sometimes the pronunciation gets, the spelling gets lost in the pronunciation. So there it is for you. That's the country. Anyways, so now, as if to add assault to injury, that statement or that post by Muhammad Salah has gone on to be liked by past and present Liverpool players. Some of these signed by Arne Slot himself, and some of them not. But among the former and present Liverpool players that have liked the post are Dominic Szoboszlai, Florian Wirtz, Ibrahim Konate, Andy Robertson, Hugo Ekitike, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Jeremy Frimpong, Roberto Firmino, Cody Gakpo, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Curtis Jones, Jordan Henderson, Wataru Endo, Adrian, Luis Diaz, Gini Wijnaldum or Jorginho Wijnaldum, and Ryan Gravenberch. Now, out of that list, Gini Wijnaldum, Adrian, Luis Diaz, Jordan Henderson, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Roberto Firmino, and Alexander Trent-Arnold are the only players that are not Liverpool players. 7. They are no longer Liverpool players. Now, in Dominic Szoboszlai, Florian Wirtz, Ibrahim Konate, Andy Robertson, who is also leaving at the end of the season, Hugo Ekitike, Jeremy Frimpong, Cody Gakpo, Curtis Jones, Wataru Endo, and Ryan Gravenberch. 9 players. So out of the 16 players that like the post, 9 are currently Liverpool players as we speak, as of present day. You say, I have family in Cape Town, South Africa. Oh, wow. Cape Town is a very, very beautiful place. Robert Lewandowski was given the captain's armband to guide the team through, and his players, his fellow teammates have just, carried him to celebrate with him as he marks the end to an era of his career at Barcelona. There were some contract talks, but those contract talks did not yield fruit, so he will be leaving the club. Okay. Meanwhile, according to Sky Sports, PSG forward Ousmane Dembele was substituted with what appeared to be an injury just 2 weeks before the Champions League final against Arsenal. Apparently, Ousmane Dembele appears to walk off with injury in PSG's away loss against Paris FC. Remember, PSG were climaxing today. Who is your favorite music artist? That's the Rio Tala or Talha. Favorite artist? I do not think I have a favorite artist, by the way, but I have songs that I oftentimes go back to. Songs like Sacrifice, that old sort of 90s, early 2000s kind of, R&B and soul, Michael Bolton, Bryan Adams, Michael Lance Turok, Westlife, Celine Dion, that kind of music. Neo, old school music, sort of. I also like some new music, but oftentimes I find myself drifting back to that kind of music. A bit of country here and there, Don Williams, that kind of thing, So, I mean, you say valid? Okay, thank you. So that's the kind of music that I often find myself going back to. Speaking of which, there's a song that I was listening to earlier on today, but it's sort of eluded my mind, and yet I thought I was going to look for it. But maybe after this broadcast, I will do. So I feel that in majority of those players, liking that Mohamed Salah post, is to say they associate themselves with those views. And that is quite very, very telling to Liverpool's minders, who up until this point have made the decision that Arne Slot be allowed to continue for the foreseeable future and get to correct his own mistakes. Hazard boy, hi Hazard boy. Now, so we'll have to wait and see where things go from now on for Liverpool. But it is what it is. So, anyways, guys, here are some statistics for Robert Lewandowski as he bids farewell to Barcelona. In as far as the Supercopa Hispana is concerned, he's played in about 5 games. He scored 4 goals and provided 1 assist. That is in 2024, 2025, and 2026. Then in the Spanish La Liga, he scored a good number of goals. This season, he could only manage 13 in 29 appearances with 2 assists. Then 27 goals last campaign with 2 assists. And then 19 goals and 7 assists in the 2023-2024 campaign. Then you go back to the Champions League. This season he scored only 4 goals. Last season he scored 11. And the season prior to that he had scored 3. So in terms of his numbers, he's done tremendously well, or he's done really, really well in as far as things go for him at Barcelona. At the age of 37, he bids a farewell to the Spanish La Liga champions. I think he walks away with a brace of titles this season, the Spanish La Liga and the Supercopa Hispana, in which they beat Real Madrid 3-2 in the finals, and things like that. So he's done well for himself. He will be proud of what he's been able to achieve with Barcelona. Last season, they won the domestic treble, including the Copa del Rey. They reached the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. Unfortunately, this season, they could not make it, But he's been such a coup for Barcelona ever since he joined them. So I think he will be remembered as one of the highest goal scorers in a Barcelona jersey, Gradao says, do you have chicken? Do you have children? Do I have children? No. Okay. I don't know. For some reason, my internet somewhere else is seemingly in a struggle. I don't know if, things seem to have restored. So he joined Barcelona, obviously, in 2022 after leaving Bayern Munich, where he had spent about 8 years from 2014 to 2022. He scored 82 goals in 132 appearances. We need a Robert K. Jr. Don't worry. Inshallah, God willing, we'll get one. We'll get a Robert K. Jr. So, anyways, so that's his sort of legacy at Barcelona. I think he's achieved everything you'd, apart from the Champions League. Dives says 6 likes. I'm gonna make it 7. Thank you so much, Dives. Dives, or do you read it as Dives or Divs? Kindly correct me, but for me, I'll call you Josh. Josh, thank you so much, Josh. A lot of people come on here and they feel that their fingers will burn if they press the like button. But it is okay. It is all good. Are you Muslim? No, I'm not. I'm not Muslim. I'm a Christian. I'm Christian. But thanks for asking. If you're a Muslim, salam alaikum. That's if you are. If you aren't, then you'll allow me take that one back. The greeting in Islam. So, guys, I think those were some of the things that we wanted to share or discuss tonight with you guys. But meanwhile, Diego Simeone has confirmed he will stay and continue with Atletico de Madrid next season. He said, if I'm being honest, I'm thinking about next season. I'm thinking about myself. I'll continue, but I'm thinking about how to approach a new season. I think that's, I don't know, say namaste or ram ram and take a sub. Oh, namaste. I know it's a phrase from it's a phrase from it's a phrase from the Indian community. So namaste. Um, oh, Hinduism. Okay. I mean, I don't know what it means. Tamo Junto. Okay, we'll get to that in a bit. We'll get to that in a bit. Jesus Christ. PSG have had to celebrate their title in front of at the stadia of their rivals. Hinduism is the religion of Indians, most Indians. Okay, yeah, so I've heard. Although, anyway, come to Brazil, Robert. Oh, by the way, Brazil is a dream destination in the sense of having a bucket list. I've seen videos of people on the beaches of Rio de Janeiro, the people from Sao Paulo, and far and beyond, obviously off of the internet, and I have a fine appreciation of Brazil as sort of as a country, as a community, but more importantly, I have my appreciation for it overall emanates from my appreciation of the sort of talent that it does produce when it comes to a footballing talent, to footballing talent. So, if the future does grant me the financial flexibility to make trips as such, trust me, you'll be the first to know. Foxtide says, do you gym? No, I've never been to the gym. I've never been to the gym, by the way. It's one of those things, by the way, that surprises people when I say it, but I've never been to the gym. I've never been to the gym. There's a point in time in my life when I'd hoped to go to one, but I do not. Maybe I did not commit to it, but also finances have not always been to my absolute credit to say I have the sort of flexibility to add gym to the list. But yeah, that's to answer your question. So now, okay, elsewhere, how things wrapped up. Like I said, Arsenal's game is tomorrow. We'll discuss it in the morning. We'll do the preview in the morning. Elsewhere, as far as other leagues were concerned. Meanwhile, Juventus were beaten by Fiorentina at home by 2-0. Coming into the game, they were third on the standings of the Italian Serie A, and they ended up being sixth. Therefore, they could miss out on Champions League football. I do not know what Luciano Spalletti will be telling his bosses for that kind of loss. But anyways, here are the other results from elsewhere in Europe today. Athletic Bilbao and Celta Vigo shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Atletico de Madrid beat up against Girona by 0-0. Elche beat up against Getafe by 0-0. Levante beat Mallorca by 2-0. Osasuna lost to Espanyol by 2-1. Rayo Vallecano beat up against Villarreal by 2-0, while Deportivo Alves beat up against Deportivo Alves beat up against Real Oviedo by 0-0 to brighten their chances of staying up. And then Valencia upset Real Sociedad, beating them 4-3. Must have been a very entertaining fixture. Then earlier on, Real Madrid beat up against Sevilla by goal to nil. Vinicius Junior's 15th minute goal decided the tie, while Barcelona in the late kickoff have beaten up against Real Betis by 3-1. Barcelona's goals, of course, were scored by Rafinha, scoring a brace, as well as Joao Cancelo. In terms of the table, I will only interest you with what is at the bottom. But going into the final day of the season, Villarreal and Atletico de Madrid are tied on points, 69, with 22 goals scored each. So whoever wins their final game of the season will finish third in that. And then Real Betis also in there in 5th place. They will be qualifying for, I think, Champions League football, Real Betis, because Spanish La Liga have 5 teams. Then Celta Vigo will go to the UEFA Europa League if things remain the way they are, and Getafe will be going for the Conference League if nothing changes in terms of the table standings. Now, in as far as the relegation is concerned, going into the final game of the season, these are the teams who are yet to survive, because 19th place team and 18th place team have 39 and 49 points respectively. That means Sevilla, Deportivo Alves from 13th place and below are not yet safe. Levante, Osasuna, Elche, Girona are not yet safe. So the relegation battle in Spain will still be on as in full-blown mode. Okay, tomorrow Ancelotti makes the call for Brazil to the World Cup. Oh, that's when he's announcing the final squad? Gradao games. Is that when he's announcing the final squad? You say Neymar will go. Okay, that's positive. I saw a clip of Neymar literally protesting. Of course, he had gone, I think, off the pitch injured. Then they made a substitution on him. Not sure it was intended on him by his team, but he tried to plead his case to no good. Raymond Kangumba says, hi. Both PIF, Saudi Arabia owners, a public investment fund, and Ed Howe should... You want them sacked from Newcastle. He said Newcastle versus West Ham. It's a win for Newcastle. My man of the match was Jacob Ramsey of Newcastle United. I'm happy Newcastle United fan. Thank you so much, Raymond Kangumba, for that submission. But I've told you before, Eddie Howe is not going anywhere. And PIF is not going anywhere soon. Do you speak Luganda? Yes, I do speak Luganda quite fluently. It's my mother tongue. English for us is the official language because we were colonized by the British, so we get taught in English right through school. So it's our official language, but my primary language or mother tongue is Luganda. So I speak Luganda, I speak English. I hear some other languages, some other local languages like Lusoga, some Westerner, some West, Runyankore, some bit of Runyaktara, and yeah, that's just about it. So, but I do speak Luganda. In case you wish to greet me in Luganda, feel free to do so. But for the benefit of our viewers, I decided to keep it English so that we do not get them lost in the shenanigans of my local language, for which majority may not understand. Okay. Now, then in the Italian Serie A, in the Rome Derby, Lazio beat, you say, send me a greeting in Luganda, please. A greeting, I send you greetings in Luganda. Okay. Bandamosize Aveu. In other words, send my special greetings to the people of your home or in your home. That's what it means. Then AS Roma in the Rome Derby beat up against Lazio by 2 goals to nil. Como beat up against Parma by 1-0. Genoa lost to AC Milan by 2-1. Like I told you, Fiorentina beat up against Juventus by 2-0. Napoli put 3 past Pisa. Inter Milan and Hellas Verona shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Bologna beat up against Atalanta by 0-0, while Cagliari beat Torino by 2-1. Sassuolo lost to Lecce by 3-2, while Cremonese beat up against Udinese by 1-0. In terms of the Italian Serie A table, here are the standings. Not that it has any bearing on the title because it has already been won by Inter Milan. But Napoli are second, AC Milan are third on 73 and 70 points respectively, as a fourth place Roma are following that victory against Lazio. Como are in fifth place with 68 points. Meanwhile, they still have a chance to qualify for Champions League football if any of AC Milan and Roma can fail to win on the final day of the season, whilst Como goes on to win. Juventus have slipped from third place to sixth place with 68 points. So chances are you could see Como and Juventus playing in the UEFA Europa League if nothing changes by the final day of the season. Then Atlanta will be playing Conference League if nothing changes. Atlanta will play Conference League football next season. So in terms of the relegation battle, Pisa have already been relegated, and so have been Hellas Verona. Now, Cremonese and Lecce still have it to play for in terms of survival, but Lecce are a point ahead of Cremonese, so it's in Lecce's hands to survive that relegation, but Fiorentina have already survived relegation. Those were some really, really valuable points that they picked up against Juventus. Anyways, then in the French League One, it's all been concluded today in as far as the French League One is concerned. And yeah, here were the results from the French League One as far as Sunday was concerned. Okay. Oh, just give me a second. Lost something here. Oh, come on. Okay, yeah. In the French League One, Brest and Angers shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Auxerre beat up against Lille by 2-0. Le Havre beat Lorient by 2-0. Lens put 4 past Lyon. Olympique Marseille beat up against Stade Rennes by 3-1. Nantes and Toulouse, the game was abandoned. I don't know why, but Nice and Betis, it finished goalless. Paris FC beat up against PSG by 2-1, but they had already been champions. Strasbourg beat up against Monaco by 5-4. That game at one point was 4-2 in favor of Monaco. What a cracker it must have been. What a cracker it must have been. But in terms of the table, okay, PSG, Lens, Lille, and Lyon will be playing in the UEFA Champions League next season. But Lyon will have to go through the qualification rounds. Then Marseille will play in the UEFA Europa League, while Stade Rennes will play in the UEFA Conference League. Despite the defeat, Monaco still remain ahead of Strasbourg. And there, like I've said, the season has finished. Betis relegated, not relegated. Nice will have to play in the relegation playoff. But Auxerre, Le Havre are all safe. So we'll have to wait and see how things go in there. But that's the French League One for you. PSG were crowned champions for the 12th time in 14 years. So all credit to them. Raymond, you say, Raymond, this is a humble request. Find a way of coming to terms with the fact that Eddie Howe is going to be in the dugout at Newcastle for next season. I understand you having the wishes and aspirations of a better manager, especially when you look around the block and United are confirming Michael Carrick, Chelsea are getting Xabi Alonso, Bournemouth are getting Marco Rose, Crystal Palace are pushing for Andoni Iraola, and who else? I do not know where managerial changes are going to be. But I pray and I beg humbly that you do come to terms with Ed Howe, that is going to stay in charge. Yes, your personal wish as a fan, it will be that they bring in Xavi Hernandez, but that's not going to happen, at least in the interim. So until such a point, for now, bring yourself around to the idea and the fact that you're going to back your Newcastle side with Ed Howe in charge. Yes, just bring yourself to that fact. And the sooner you do, the faster we'll move on from us having to go through the same conversation about Ed Howe possibly being sacked or otherwise and PIF, you know. But anyways, guys, it's 38 minutes past midnight. I see. Why don't you guys allow me quality night and wish you a blessed night, and let's catch up again tomorrow. So Raymond Kangumba, thank you so much. Gradao Games, it's always a pleasure. Fox Tides, thank you so much for having joined us. Josh, thank you so much. Who else? Steve Bano, always a pleasure. Hazard Boy, thank you so much. Reluctant Gamer, Kaola. Then the quiet one, the brain and the behavior, as well as Jean Charles. Thank you so much for having been part of tonight's broadcast. Gradao Games, let's catch up again tomorrow. I wish you a blessed night, all of you. Stay blessed and bye-bye for now.